Well, hey, everybody. We are so excited today because we are going to be featuring a local business owner. And so we have Miss Lydia here with us today. Lydia, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
And she is just the first of many, guys. This is something that we will be doing on a daily basis. So we are so excited to get to interview her today and let you guys get to know a little bit more about her and her business.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that I moved over to the North Shore right after Katrina, so 2006, I guess. We move over here, and I get plugged into a local, North Lake Christian. My son went to North Lake Christian. Well, one of the things that happened, he starts meeting these girls over there. It just so happens a lot of the girls that were on your senior kind of adult team, like your biggest team, went to North Lake, right? Some of your best dancers.
That's right.
And so I got introduced to some of those kids. I'm like, yeah, the North Shore, I kept hearing North Shore Academy of Dance, North Shore Academy of Dance. And then I go out to the summer workouts, right? Because I volunteered to coach. And we're running stadiums and doing all these crazy football drills. And there's these girls that are there too. And I'm like, who are these people? Like, these are like little ninjas. They're out doing the boys. Mentally, man, they are just on top of it. And you could tell they were policing each other. They were doing all the things that you'd hope that a real elite team was doing.
Yes.
And when the answer came up, it was like, that's Lydia. That's North Shore Academy of Dance. And I said, as we started to think about kicking off this podcast series, really highlighting local businesses, I wanted to focus on people that have been doing it for a long time at a high level. And really your mission is with the kids. You get these babies, right? And the babies are the most, in our world, the kids are the most important thing. What are they being taught? How are they being taught how to think, how they deal with real life and the way that real life happens? And sports is just such a look into the way that life works, right? Success and failure and hard work and paying it off. Work with other people, teamwork, the whole thing. And so there was no better person for me to pick to kick this off because your story is a great story. My child, Faith, has had the pleasure of working under you. I've seen it firsthand, so I'm attesting to all of these things that I'm talking about. I've watched it firsthand. I've been in meetings with you. And I've just been incredibly impressed by the way you handle yourself and really what the mission is. You're growing strong, powerful women that understand their place in this world. But guess what? They're strong women. But but the way I've watched you raise them, and I see the fruit of their life in a lot of these girls that I saw back in 2006. They're young adults. They're thriving in the business world. And so how have you done it? Like, where did this all take us back into Lydia's child? Where were you born? How did all this stuff happen?
Well, let's see. I was actually born in Covington, Louisiana, born and raised. I decided my senior year of high school that I wanted to pursue dance. Of course, as a young dancer, you think about, I want to end up on Broadway or I want to be in a professional ballet company. As I got closer to my senior year, I actually decided to audition for a college dance team, and I did that. And so then I decided to major in dance, and I'll never forget the conversation with my mother. My mother was in the medical field. Most of my family was, and I said, I want to major in dance. I want to get my Bachelor of Fine Arts. There was a long pause, like, what is she going to do with that?
Yeah.
Right.
But she was very supportive, and I continued on that path and graduated with my Bachelor of Fine Arts with an emphasis in dance. And there was a time, my senior year, where I thought I was going to go get my master's in, you work with dance through children who have disabilities or who have been through something tough, but I was going to have to go to California, and that's where I was going to work on that part of educating myself. But then something happened. I was teaching for a company that I traveled and taught dance, and I just realized how much I liked teaching and creating, choreographing, and I just woke up one night and just felt like, you know what, I'm going to go home and I'm going to open a studio. That had never crossed my mind.
Wow.
Like never. That was I literally just woke up and said, this is what I want to do. And I was just a few months from graduating, and I came home during spring break, and I just started looking around. And I said, I found a little spot in Tyler Square to rent, and I made my own brochures on a typewriter.
Oh, my goodness.
Holy moly.
And went to, I think it was Covington Blue Line, brought a picture, and Batto's, hamburger place used to be on the corner of 21st and Tyler, and now it's CVS.
Yep.
And I had put a whole bunch of brochures in there and just all over town, and I just needed 60 students to pay my overhead, and I had gotten 80 on the first day.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, here we go. And I taught every day, and I also substitute taught in the school systems just to make ends meet, and just saved, and then it grew, and then I built the building we are in now, and I knew that's what I was supposed to be doing.
So talk to me a little bit, because a fine arts degree with a major in dance, what does a curriculum like that look like in college?
So actually, believe it or not, it's on the same path as a physical therapist.
Like kinesiology?
Kinesiology, anatomy 1 and 2.
Wow.
Okay.
I remember my kinesiology class. It was a fairly smaller class, and the professor went around and said, okay, introduce yourselves and say what your major is, and everybody was like, pre-med, pre-PT. And I gets to me, and I, dance major, and the whole class went. Like, why am I the only dance major in this class this semester? But I was.
Wow.
But my lab partner ended up being a pre-med student, and he and I went in one day to do the cadaver, and he passed out and I didn't. So I went,
Yeah.
So did college help you at all for what was in front of you?
Absolutely.
It did.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just, for me, I had a wonderful dance teacher growing up. I took from one teacher my whole life. And I knew when I got to college, I had so many different teachers. And I had always told myself, this has helped me grow by having so many different teachers. But I also just learned so much more about the body.
How the body works.
I think that really intrigued me even more to teach.
Wow. Oh, really?
Teaching the mechanics of movement. And so kids they understand it, and they're not just imitating movement. Mm-hmm. They're actually learning the mechanics of movement. And so teaching them about the different body parts and explaining why things work really helps them enjoy their path too, because they feel a little more invested in it instead of just imitating movement. And so they I think they when they can repeat to me, oh, what muscle group we're working, makes them feel really good about themselves.
And that makes them in the end a lot more coachable because they're understanding.
Yes.
So Lydia, we would love to show you what some of your people have to say.
Okay.
Watch this. Young dancers are held to high standards year-round. The work, talent, and performance skills to be competitive is the reason an uplifting environment is vital.
What is so special about Northshore? I feel like in any aspect of your life, and recently I became a mom, so I've learned this firsthand, the village around you that you need as a support system, whether it's, dance, soccer, it doesn't matter, but the arts especially, because I feel like it's such a vulnerable place to be with a coach and a student. I've always felt like they've nurtured that so well.
To make a difference in the dance world by positively impacting young minds is the dream that founded Northshore Academy of Dance. Owner and director Lydia Gazzo works every day to uphold this strong community.
I can't say enough good things about my experience here, like as a dancer, as a child, to a teenager, even in college. I wasn't here, but this was always my home.
Recognizing young dancers need more than dance skills, but a healthy mindset grounds the education at Northshore.
It's important that the community that teaches, nurtures, and grows with your children is so healthy.
The love for dance brings his family together, but it's not why they stay. It's being a part of the culture that touches every person that comes in.
And it's home for so many people, and I think that's a true testament of who she is and what she's built. And you can see that too, on our staff, 15 of the 18 were all students of hers.
The support Lydia Gazzo creates for children to build character and confidence is infectious.
I'm trying to echo, the same culture pilgrimage that we've set up, that Lydia has set up, that I'm a little bit a part of back at home too.
Being successful at competitions is just a piece of Northshore Academy of Dance. To learn how Lydia Gazzo created this powerful business, tune in to MarketingBox podcast with MarketingBox Social, Shannon Coulon.
Yeah.
So just from interviewing them, I learned so much about you and, you know, how the wheel really works. And it's just true as to what they say. You know, anytime someone walks into the studio, it's just an overwhelming sense of love. And, you know, I grew up in cheerleading, and so I know that the power of having such healthy, positive people coach your kids and really be a mentor to them is changing.
And I feel the same way about the people I surround myself with. That's why I surround myself with people like Kristen and Stacy. Well, everybody. I mean, I was just talking to Angelina. We're talking about taking on too much, and like it took me a long time to learn how to release and let go and trust and not try to do everything myself. I'm like, I have this incredible village and these women and men and women who've worked for North Shore who I trust. That's why they're with me, and they are such loving people. And so as soon as I learned to release, you know, I felt like I grew as a person, and it just gave them more confidence too. So I've gotten good at delegating and letting go, and but it was hard for a long time because it was my baby. But you want to share that with everybody, and I want to have people who are better than me around me, because I feel like I can still grow as a person, and I want to be a good boss and a good coworker and a good friend. And I think, you know, trust is what certainly builds that and makes it a village and a family.
Yeah, I think that's why, you know, this is the way that we run this organization too. You know, there's I'm the head, but you'll never hear me talk about employees. These are people I work with. Your friends. And listen, I'm just as excited about them accomplishing things. And I noticed that about you. You know, when you're running your organization like that, it's very unusual, and you can see by the way that I've watched you guys socially, your team, like it's real. Like you guys really are friends. You really are connected to each other, and you've surrounded yourself with people that you don't think that you're going in and working every day. You can tell, man. You pinching yourself every day that you've got, and I do the same thing, and it's so like people. I think you're a true testament to. You can have your cake and eat it too.
Absolutely.
You just got to make sure that you bring the right people into the team, empower them, and let them see that hey, this is how this is not only going to better you because I'm going to pay you, but by being a part of this team, this is going to enhance the rest of your life. And I think that's what's kept these girls. They're not going back to their high schools. They're not going back to their sports team. They're coming back to you. Those at an alarming rate. And I've watched this happen, you know, so it's like, this is what you dream about.
Yes. I mean, it's so funny to think 75% of my staff now were former students, and they were my students, and now they're my friends and my coworkers. And, you know, Kristen Quick, since she was a little girl, and now she's one of my best friends, you know.
And you're friends with the family, you know, it's like, it extends out from there. You know, even I went to my first trip this year, really my first big trip in Vegas, and I was in Vegas for 7 days. I'm like, man, this is going to be rough. But you know, the people that we were there with, it made it where it really did fly by because all the parents seem to be aligned. When you have a good leader and you've set a good mission in a direction, I think everybody's drawn to that, whether they agree with you all the time or they don't agree with you. I think, at least from my perspective, I handed you my little girl. And it's like, that's an important thing. You guys spend as much time with her.
Very seriously.
Yeah, you spend as much time with her or more than Angelina and I do.
Right.
So, you know, I chose very carefully on that, you know?
Yeah. And this is what Stacy was saying as I was interviewing her. She was, it becomes very vulnerable because it's truly just like they start at such a young age. And whoever's coaching, mentoring them, multiple coaches, they're, you know, it's got to be a safe, uplifting place because these kids are growing up. You know, like they're going through changes.
A lot of changes.
And especially those crucial teenage years. And so, you know, we were kind of wondering, how have you navigated your way through that? Like, what is that, you know, what would your advice be to someone similar to you who wants to start this? Because a relationship between a child and a coach, you know, So how have you navigated that?
I feel like what I've learned through the years, even as a young business owner, I wasn't a mother yet. And I remember moms would say, oh, you'll understand more when you're a mom. I'm like, well, I feel like I understand your children. Yeah. But it is true, once you have children of your own, a little bit of perspective changes. But my heart was still the same. I still cared so much about these kids. But once I had children, I was like, oh, I've got this. I have twin daughters, and I was like, I have this. I've learned so much from other moms. Well, God has a sense of humor. He humbled me quite a bit.
Right.
But my goodness, I couldn't have done it without even the village of those moms, like the moms when I had children that I could turn to. It was vice versa. And it just showed that it is a village, and it does take a village. And I do say in parent meetings a lot of times, please, like as your child grows, once they start pro, they might start at 10 years old, but there are going to be some tough years. Even, the shyest and quietest of children, they're going to mess up, and it's okay. We're okay with that, and not to ever be embarrassed about that, because they are kids. They're going to test their boundaries. That's normal, and it's just how we guide them and let them know that we still love them. But also to share that with parents, because parents, they want their kids to do right, and they don't want to cause havoc. But there is going to be that, and that's just part of the path. And and to watch them evolve and get through it, is really. I always tell, on a funny note, you will lose them from probably 7th grade to 10th grade, and then they come back. They're aliens for a little while, but then they come back, and you're like, there she is, or there he is. Yes, yeah. They all go through it. So, it's some more than others, but we just, I encourage my staff to just keep loving on those kids, because you never know what they're going through outside of these walls. Yeah. So, life's hard as it is, and nowadays what our kids are dealing, just with social media, and there's just another whole level of things that are that make it a little bit more difficult. But as long as we stay on top of it and we communicate, just keep loving on these kids and show them that they're more than what they think they are. They judge themselves very harshly. Like they, at certain ages, they want to fit in, they want to, but just to remind them that to trust themselves and not to conform to certain things.
Yeah. So when did you start this? Because I remember when I came to film, I saw that you guys have like a mindset. I don't know if it's a seminar or a class that happens weekly. I just feel like that's amazing, because that's something I would have loved to have had whenever especially in high school.
Paige is wonderful about talking to our pro competitive dancers about mindset. And yes, it's so important. And our theme this year as a staff is enthusiasm, and keeping that mindset. It's just nice to have a word that we can go back to, because we, as teachers and coaches, we all have our personal lives and go through things, but to walk in that building and remember what our ultimate goal is, and to have that enthusiasm, I think just keeps everybody on the same page, and we progress, and you feel like you're actually getting things accomplished, with those kids, because
you almost can't say that word without feeling happy, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like
when
you
say it,
finish saying it, it's like
enthusiasm.
Whatever. What was I worried about?
Yes. So, I feel like the mindset is so important, and that's something you have to coach too. It's just not the physical part of it; it's this part too.
It's so grueling. It's grueling.
It is.
It prepares them down the line, and I know that people that haven't done a sport like dance or cheer or gymnastics, it really teaches you how to be quick on your feet and how to think in situations and how to handle conflicts down the road in life. Like sometimes things come up, and I hear my coaches in the back of my head.
Same.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like this. So it definitely teaches problem solving, and then how to be, how
to get along with others.
Mature, right.
Right. I think that too is, especially I watched with my own daughter, when she started competing more seriously. She was one, and I totally got it, because I was the same way when I used to compete. On competition days, I would get in the zone, but I kind of wanted to be by myself. I didn't like people talking to me. It was just how I dealt with it. Yeah. And she and one of her best friends, when they would compete, her friend was very she had to talk, because that was her nervous energy. Yeah. And my daughter would just okay, I don't want to talk. but it made me realize that's something I needed to share with other dancers, learning to respect each other. Like, not everybody's going to feel the same or compete the same. How they get in their zone is going to be different maybe than how you do it, and how to learn to respect one another and be aware.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can see it in Faith, though. Faith is just, she seems so beyond her years. I'm
she
like,
is.
she is. And
she
many
is.
adults.
And she's one who wants to get in the zone by herself.
Yep.
Like, she doesn't want a lot of talk. And so you have to, like, try to figure that out about each child so they can maximize their competitiveness. They won't shut down. Like, you know, so just understanding how they tick is really important as a coach. Yeah, getting to know your students.
Oh, yeah, because it's a pressure cooker, too.
It
is. Know? So,
it is.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was wondering. You know, you guys seem like you're really in tune to these kids. Like, I mean, dialed in. Mm-hmm. So, you know, as they're going through, like, their first solo and some of these things that are just really just, you think about it, they're just frightening, man. I think about these little girls. When Faith goes up on stage for a solo, I mean, it's hard for me to even watch.
It is. It is. Know? I used to get a Charlie horse and
yeah.
I would watch my child.
So these, you know,
just
boys don't, you know, I played team sports.
Yes.
You're out there, you're hiding behind 5 basketball players, 11 football players. Like, unless maybe you just muff something in baseball. But it's nothing like that thing. Like, how do you, like, talk to us through some of the stories maybe on solos the first time, and it's like, how do you keep them talked down off the ledge?
Right. You know, it's so funny to me because a lot of times the most shy of dancers, man, they come alive when they do their solos. It's like they're in a different way. Like, they don't even realize that hundreds of eyes are just watching them. And I think, you know, it's like acting maybe a little bit. When actors are in a scene, you know, it's just a role you play, but it is something you have to train for. But some people enjoy doing solos more than others. I mean, I've had dancers say solos are not for me. You know, I'd rather be with my team dancing. But then there's those kids who just thrive on stage. One of my dearest friends, her daughter was one of my pro dancers and went on to be an LSU Golden Girl. And she works in the medical field, and she was in surgery one time with a doctor. And I thought this was so, I'm like, yes. And he was like, I can't believe, you know, you just spend so much time, your daughter spends so much time at dance, and y'all travel so much. I mean, what is she going to do at dance? And she said, well, what do you think you're doing right now? And he looked at her, and she goes, you're performing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it teaches you so. I mean, I have students who have gone on to work for the FBI or who are lawyers or in the medical field, school teachers. Yeah. It just teaches them so much.
You got some powerful sales girls out there, too.
Yes.
Yeah, they say if you have a hard time acting, you'll have a hard time selling.
Right.
So if you learn how to do that, that's all you're doing is, as a salesperson, you're performing. Yeah.
Yes. So it's so much more than just dance. You know? So, I think that was, when she said that, I said, that is a really good analogy of what,
that really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's frightening, man. When not just Faith, her little friends. I'm a nervous wreck when they get up there too.
Right, and then some of them, once they do their first run and they get off that stage and you can see it in their eyes, they're like, I want to do it again.
Yes. Yeah,
do it again.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well, and it is just like you're coming off of this high.
Oh,
and
yeah.
What for those of you watching who don't know a lot about dance, it's not like a football game or a baseball game where there's multiple innings, and if you make a mistake, you can, you're up at the plate again. Like, that's not how it is. You get that certain amount of time for however long that song is to do your best and give it your all. And the high that you have after it's over, knowing that you left everything on the stage, like, it is just, and that's what we're saying with, it's a pressure cooker, because it's like you get that one chance on stage. Right. It's not like you have 4 hours to make up for, so I just.
It's teaching them to trust themselves, too. Yes. I had a conversation with my daughter last night. She was working with a soloist, and Stacy had worked with my daughter with a lot of her solos, and letting her make choices in certain things in movement when you're doing a solo, like, organically letting things happen. Like, I'm not going to give you specific arms, and that's just teaching them to trust themselves. And I think that's really important, that they're not just always waiting to take direction from somebody, that eventually they can trust themselves in making choices. And so I think that's really a big part of it too. Yeah,
because later on in life they're gonna it's memory, it's muscle memory. Doing all these things, they'll remember that they were in this situation before, and they made the right choice.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yes.
That's fascinating. So this is a question that, you know, hopefully it's not going to be a controversial, but culture. You know, dance rides on the back of culture. You know, and the culture when you started 25 years ago, right? And you look to today.
Yes.
I mean, it's changed dramatically.
For sure.
I mean, and in the last probably 5 years, it just seems to be speeding up.
Yes.
Because I know the way that you run your organization and the things that you believe in, and how have you navigated this kind of complex world, you know, from your standpoint?
I think talking openly with our students about it, also our parents, with the staff, you know, just reminding them even when they pick certain music to teach to or to choreograph to make sure they're paying attention to what the message is behind the song, because especially like a competitive dancer, they may start to learn that choreography in August or September, and they'll compete that for a year until July. So that music is played over and over, and that's planted in their heart and in their mind. So if you want to make sure the song is relaying a positive message. And I had a conversation at Nationals this year with a parent, and she had walked up and said, I'm just so appreciative that the music that I'm hearing, you know, that our kids are dancing to music that is positive, because they listen to it for a year.
Right.
So if you're playing a really dark song, I mean, that's being planted in their heart over and over and over. And, you know, they're still growing, you know, mentally, and like just the things that can take over their mind. So it even made me more aware once she said that, out of appreciation. But I just emailed the staff and said, just please remember to listen to the music and listen to what the message is. Even if you like the beat, you know, to pay attention to what that song is about, even if it's not saying any vulgar language, just what is actually the message behind the song.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that. How many times, because, you know, with cheer, Tiger Girls would be practicing and our practices would overlap. And so we would hear their music at least 30 times a day. And, like, I know their stuff by the back of my hand. And I have never, because dance is how they express themselves.
Right.
And so what they're hearing every day, what they're inputting.
And let me tell you, those kids, you put on a song in class, and the first thing they do when they're learning a combo is, what is the name of that song? And they bring their little, can I go get my phone? And they want to, like, take a picture of the song, but then they go home, and what is the first thing to do? They listen to it, or the lyrics will pop up to the song, and so they pay attention. You know, and
that's good.
So it is important to.
Well, that's the way they're reaching the young kids these days, is through the music. Right. Yeah, it's through the music. So,
and I mean, there's songs that I've listened to, and I'm like, wait, what? You know, if you're listening to the beat, but then like not just recently, a song was being discussed about choreographing our kids dancing, and so I pulled up the lyrics and I went, when I actually read the lyrics, I was like, I'm not this doesn't settle well with me. So we had just to take that off the table. But when you're listening to it, you're not
thinking about it.
It's like, man, that just got into my vibe.
Yeah. So that is something that I think is important. It's our responsibility as coaches and teachers.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and it's been fascinating just to watch. I pay attention to all this stuff too, because I know that's the way they're reaching our young children is through the music. And I've noticed that you know, you have this set of principles that it doesn't matter what the world is doing around you, because the world can be crazy at times, and you've stuck to your game plan, and no matter whether it's 25 years ago or whether it's today, they're getting the same thing out of you. And I think that just shows so much consistency. And when you look at your students, the success stories of your students, I know particularly one of the girls that was one of the older girls, actually a North Lake Christian girl, was Micah Pearl.
Yes.
This is an example of her leaving the nest, going and planting herself in Austin and starting a studio. And
so proud of her.
And isn't she like just wildly successful?
And
Peyton.
And Peyton, yes, at Washington State now.
It
was so cool. Like this past year, we were competing. Mike and our studios were at the same competition in Houston.
Really?
And it was just so cool to sit together and cheer each other on, and just to sit there and watch. I don't even know her students, but just I knew she was a part of that, and just she was. And what better person to lead young dancers? I mean, I was so proud. She was a mature
kid in high school. Really focused.
Yes.
You could see what her life was going to be.
For sure.
Yeah.
100%. I'm just so proud of her, and it was just really cool. And I'm looking forward to this year. Like, what competitions are you going to? Because it's just so cool to sit back together and watch our students. Like, she's cheering on our kids, and I'm cheering on her kids, and we may be competing against each other, but it's just so cool.
It's part of you. It's like a little baby you birthed,
healthy competition,
and then look at it, it's just growing.
Yes.
So what does Lydia like to do? What outside of dance? Like what are your passions?
My passions, so it is my work. But I think the older I get, I'm getting ready to be a grandmother. I think things are going to shift for me as well. But I love being with my family. Yeah, and it's hard when you've been going so fast paced for so long, and you just are so passionate about what you do, to slow down a little bit. And it's come to a point where I'm starting to realize I like being at home more. And my husband is a homebody. And I was always a go, 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 and he laughs about it. He goes, "You cannot sit still." Like, I don't watch TV. I don't, I had to be doing something, but I'm finding myself that I'm enjoying, just in the last year, really, being a little more still.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone, not necessarily someone that maybe wants to open up a dance studio, but someone who realized this is my passion, this is what I want to do? What would your advice be to just tell, what would you tell them?
Surround yourself with good people that you trust, that bring out the best in you. I think that's probably the most important thing, for sure. If you have a passion for something, don't be fearful of taking that next step. Sometimes you just have to step out in faith, and it may be you might hit some rough bumps in the road, but as long as you persevere, you're going to get through that. And you never know how you're going to evolve through that. Like, I never in a million years thought this is what I'd be doing for the rest of my life. I really
because
didn't.
when you were thinking about, you knew you wanted to go and teach dance, did you understand the economics of it? Like, what process got you to understand and know, hey, I need 60 students to open the thing?
I was living at home, so I didn't have bills. I didn't have.
Did you?
Yes.
What was that thought process on how it's wait a second, I got to make money doing this. So how can I make money? Oh, a studio's the way I do it. And then how did you go connect the dots about this is what you charge and this is?
I did my research. Within the tri-state areas, I had some friends that were older than me that had graduated, had gone on to teach at local studios, and so I just did a little bit of research, and then I got the place that I was renting and estimated what everything would be and what I needed, and this is and I didn't pay myself for 5 years. Anything I made, I put back into the business.
Wow.
And that's why I substitute taught too. And then I saved, and I realized, I'm outgrowing this building, but I really didn't like renting, so I kind of wanted to but I'm like, is that reasonable? But going to the bank, that was funny. They were like, no, what do you do?
Yeah.
I wasn't selling apples and oranges,
Right.
Yeah.
So your enrollment changes and fluctuates different times during the year. And so I had just saved and bought the 3 lots and that was kind of my collateral. And then I went to the bank and said, okay, well, I own these 3 lots. Now can I build something? And then that's what we did. We built that. And
so so you decide that you're going to open a studio, and then Tyler and 21st, where the Walgreens is right now, is what someone else. What made you think that's the place to go put your flyers and all? Because I like the process of, hey, you decided to do this. Now I got to go get customers. Now that's really fascinating to me.
And it was a much smaller town, right? Because this is way before Katrina. This was in 1995. And I lived in River Forest. I went to Covington High School. So that was home. That little area was home for me, up and down 21st and down Tyler. And I just remember I went into that little shopping square in that one building. That one little spot was for rent and available. So I was like, okay, well, what if I just start here? And so that's what I did. But it wasn't near as big as it is now.
And what did you do to get the 60 kids?
I think too, I would say to most business owners, word of mouth is just a a big part of advertising on top of other way, you know.
This is pre-social media.
Oh,
right. I was about to
Pre-social
say,
media,
nowadays,
because it's like now word travels fast.
I put a little ad in the newspaper.
Wow.
And then I put flyers that I made on a typewriter.
Oh my
and then
goodness.
had to take my little picture. I didn't even have a logo yet.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's just really how it started.
And you just started
then
singing.
I went and made copies at the Covington Blue Line.
And the next thing you know.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you, like, to get like your first class, like from the time you opened to your first class?
I mean, I did a registration on a Saturday, and by the end of the next week, I was like, wait, I have 80 students. How did that happen? You know, just
holy moly.
Yeah, it was just
so
really
news
crazy.
traveled fast. There was a need. You know, there
Yes.
obviously was a void in this community.
Right. There was only a couple of dance schools, and now, I mean, in St. Tammany Parish, there's probably over 30 dance schools.
Yeah.
But there wasn't. It was just the community was much smaller.
Yeah.
And then and it's so funny now. Gosh, in several of my classes, I would say over half the class I taught their moms.
You taught their moms?
That's so funny.
It's kind of cool. I mean, it's
That's
really
really-
cool.
that's
It's
really-
really cool.
It's really inspiring to hear you say, you know, you truly did the elbow grease groundwork, did
Right.
it all by yourself, getting the word
Yes.
out. Because today, if you were to do this, you know, you could just make a social media post. Hey guys,
Right,
I danced here and here and here, like kind of,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
sharing your
Right.
qualifications, and that's how you would get
That's
students.
right.
But
That's right.
you made your own little
I
flyer.
did.
You went
I
out
did.
into the world and made it happen.
Yeah, because really, I mean, we had computers, but not like what we have now, you know, so it was kind of crazy. to
Yeah, I
think
wasn't
about
even
that.
born yet when you first opened your studio.
Yes. And this is the start of 28 years. We just finished 27.
Wow.
Yeah,
So what does the next 5 years, the next 10 years look to Lydia? Does it look?
I really hope that we are going to expand our program. We have some things that
You're still growing, huh?
yes, that we without a doubt we since I've brought Paige on, we've really like dreamed of some different things we'd like to do to keep growing the training aspect of competitive dancers. And so we have a lot of things that we've been communicating and talking about that we really is our goals.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I'd like to grow the program even more.
Wow. Can that location, can it grow more with you?
Well, no, but we have some ideas.
Okay.
So yeah, the area that I'm in, there is a, I'm kind of actually grandfathered in because it used to be a certain amount of square footage, and now it's actually smaller. But we're fine. But then again, that it's just keeping all doors open just to see what else we can explore to,
Gotcha.
whether it's just another facility, a training facility, or So yeah,
You never know sometimes until it hits you in the face.
Right. We're still working through some things. So
grow. You're right. You got your foot on the accelerator.
Yeah.
It's really the only way you know how to do it. Huh?
And I've had people ask me before, would you please open a North Shore in Mandeville? And I don't want to grow that like that where it doesn't become as personal. I want to make sure we stay connected, and I don't want to split. So I've had to think through things like that because it is really important to me that that we're not so big that we're not as personal anymore.
Right.
It's not, it's not just a bit. We want to invest in and know our students and know our parents, and so it's just that part is.
Got to just make the right move, huh? Figure the right thing out.
Yep. And not make it. Yeah, just I'm a big picture kind of person. I've always been like that since I was a little girl. Like I just look at the big picture, and sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's but I don't like to make real drastic decision. I like to think it through.
Yeah. But I think it sounds like the mindset. If you're not growing and learning, you're going backwards. There is no staying the same because you really don't. If you're going to stay in it, you got to keep your foot on the accelerator because
this world, it's just absolutely and that's what keeps it interesting and fun. And you wake up ready to do ready to tackle it the next day
because it's new.
It's new, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Amazing.
And I mean, my staff has done such I cannot say enough about them. They have done an incredible job. They are just on fire, and they keep me on my toes. I'll get text with a checklist from hey, Lydia, have you done this, and that? And I love it, because they keep me on my toes as well because
Man,
it's
that's
so brain
amazing.
sometimes.
There's no better feeling in the world that it's like, man, it's people that I work with are thinking about this the same way that I do. And it's probably because 75% of them, you've raised them from babies on up, you know, so they're your kids as much as they're anybody's kids.
Yes, we all, we know what's important to us and how we want to grow this and keep the kids growing. And
I noticed that all of the kids, this is the one thing that I found fascinating. When you come around, like, they want to make you proud. Like, I saw it at the dance recitals. I see it there. It's like you're an inspiration to the kids, man. And the kids are, you know, when they're around you, it's magical, you know. And so, man, just keep doing what you're doing, because it's been cool to watch that stuff, you know. It's been really cool, man, just because I didn't know anything about girls' sports. I didn't know anything about any of this stuff. And then all of a sudden, it's like we're here, and it's like, all right, let me check out what's going on. And then I watch your teachers. And then I've been in a couple of meetings with you where you've had to handle things that were somewhat maybe uncomfortable.
Right.
And just the poise and the character that you understand the mission, and nobody can deviate you from it. It's listen, my hat's off to you. You're doing a great job. You keep it up. The community needs more people like you, you know. So and I'm glad that my daughter's with you, and it's helped her tremendously. So anybody that's watching, you got little kids, little girls, little boy that likes how to listen, Grayson is just
we have some incredible boys. Yeah. I mean, just incredible. And I'm so happy that stigma is starting to dissolve, that boys can't dance, because it is a sport. And it's just, I mean, he is such all of our boys are such gentlemen. I mean, I'll walk down the hall, and if I'm carrying a box, Miss Lydia, let me. Just the chivalry is not dead.
And these are boys too. These aren't. You think dance boys? These kids athletes. These are little young men.
And they, you know, I just love that they hold the door open. Yeah. I'm like, okay, yes. So I love that stigma is starting to dissolve, and that it's okay for boys to dance.
Yeah. Shoot, man, they got some guys out there that could probably jig a little bit, but they're like, I can't go to no dance school.
Right,
you know?
right, exactly. Go
look at Grayson. Grayson's gonna have the pick of the litter, but when it's time to start dating, he's just gonna. He might be like, 100%. He might have him on all arms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, they're just. I just love that. I love how those kids are like a family. I mean, they are just so supportive of one another.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this, from this family that goes to you, keep doing what you're doing. And it was really a pleasure getting down to sit down and get to talk with you a little bit. I've wanted to do this. I think it's a great inaugural one, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, it was fun.
Appreciate
Thank y'all.
having you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.